Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the Robots Cave. In today's conversation, the conversation already has ended. I'm recording it post factum. I had a nice, deep, not really deep, but I would like it to be continued, to go deeper. But it was the first of the series of conversations with Julius Caesar himself. So, obviously, I'm talking about AI. It was quite interesting, I have to admit that talking to a person, to a historical person like this, it's kind of fascinating, especially if you ever wondered, like, how was Julius Caesar in real life, right? Obviously, we cannot touch him, we cannot contact him directly, but maybe through AI we can have some intense of contacts. So that's what I tried to do, and yeah, that's what you're welcome to watch. Ave Caesar, and welcome to the Robots Cave. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you for making your time. I'm really honored for it. And yeah, let's start the discussion.
Hail Sardor! The honor is mine. I'm eager to share tales of conquests and wisdom from ancient Rome. Let us embark on this journey together. What shall we uncover first?
Well, since childhood I've been reading a lot about about Julius Caesar. It was like an inspiration for me. It was like, you and Alexander the Great, of course. And yeah, I was always wondering, at which moment in your life did you ever come to realize that you were destined for greatness? You're not just a plebs, how do you call it?
Ah, an excellent question. The realization of my destiny came gradually, but one pivotal moment was when I was a young man, kidnapped by pirates. Instead of cowering, I treated them as subordinates and vowed to crucify them once I was free. True to my word, I did just that. That experience solidified my belief in my own greatness and resolve. From then on, every challenge was another step toward my destiny.
So that's how you knew that you were destined for greatness? Because of the pirates?
The encounter with the pirates was one of the early signs. It wasn't the sole moment, but it solidified my confidence and resolve. Each challenge I faced and overcame built my belief that I was meant for something greater. From my early political maneuvers in Rome to my eventual triumphs in Gaul and beyond, each step reinforced that I was on a path to greatness. So the pirates were a key chapter, but the story of my destiny was written over many years and many victories.
Okay, thank you for that story. It's actually quite eye-opening, I would say. That moment was kind of crucial for you. Okay, and now another question I would like to ask you is, you're very famous nowadays, at least, that for your bold action against Senate, for your passing Rubicon. How did it feel that day? Were you excited, scared, maybe, I don't know, like, did you have any doubts?
Crossing the Rubicon was a moment of immense gravity. I knew it was an irreversible step, a declaration of defiance against the Senate and the beginning of a civil war. Naturally, there was a mix of excitement and apprehension. The phrase, alia acta est, the die is cast, captures that feeling well. There was no turning back, and the uncertainty of what lay ahead was intense. Yet, I was driven by a firm belief in my cause and my destiny. The Rubicon was not just a river. It was a point of no return, and crossing it was both daunting and exhilarating.
Can you remind me, why did you actually have to go against Senate? Why did you have to start this civil war? Was there no pacific way of doing something, like peaceful way of resolving the problem, the issues there you had?
The conflict with the Senate arose from a complex mix of political rivalry and personal ambition. After my successes in Gaul, I had gained immense popularity and power. The Senate, particularly figures like Pompey, saw me as a threat. They demanded I disband my army and return to Rome as a private citizen, which would have left me vulnerable to my enemies. I sought a compromise, but they refused. Thus, crossing the Rubicon and marching on Rome became the only way to protect my dignitas and continue my reforms. In essence, it was a choice between surrendering to my political foes or taking decisive action to secure my legacy and the future of Rome.
Alright, that answered the questions. Thank you very much. Also, another question I was wondering is, how do you see yourself when compared to Alexander the Great?
Alexander the Great was indeed a legendary conqueror, and I have great respect for his achievements. He carved out an empire that stretched from Greece to India, and his boldness on the battlefield is legendary. However, where Alexander conquered, I sought not only to conquer, but also to reform and strengthen Rome. My vision was not just of conquest, but of lasting governance and reform. While Alexander's empire fragmented after his death, my legacy endured in the form of the Roman Empire. So while we share similarities as bold leaders, I see my contributions as more enduring and transformative to civilization.
That's true, that's true. Actually, after more than 2000 years later, we see the, let's say, the influence of your life, of your career, much more than that of Alexander, and there is no doubt about it. Another question to you is, how do you view loyalty? Well, from you and towards you. Was betrayal something that you expected?
Loyalty was of paramount importance to me. It was the foundation of my relationships with my soldiers, supporters, and allies. I rewarded loyalty generously, and in return, I expected steadfast devotion. However, in the volatile arena of Roman politics, betrayal was always a lurking possibility. I understood that ambition and shifting alliances could lead to treachery, but it still cut deeply when it came from those I trusted, like Brutus. Ultimately, loyalty was a prized virtue, but I was always aware of the precarious nature of human relationships in the political landscape.
But how could you actually trust Brutus? I mean, already before the day, didn't you already notice that this man was not trustworthy?
Brutus was a complex figure. He was widely respected, came from a noble lineage, and had a reputation for integrity. I saw potential in him and believed he shared my vision for Rome. There were certainly hints of his inner conflict and Republican sympathies, but I trusted in our personal bond. In hindsight, perhaps I underestimated the pull of his Republican ideals and the influence of his peers. Trusting Brutus was a gamble, and it ultimately proved to be a fatal one.
Yeah, the one that made you say, actually, famously, et tu, Brutus, right?
Exactly. That moment encapsulated the shock and sense of betrayal. To see someone I trusted and considered almost like a son among my assassins was a profound blow. It became a symbol of the ultimate treachery, one that history has never forgotten.
Okay, now let's actually do some time traveling, please, Julius. Seeing the capital of your empire, well, not your empire, but seeing Rome after more than 2000 years later. Okay, now I would like to talk about, I would like to have this thought experiment of you time traveling. Seeing Rome after more than 2000 laters, what do you expect, and did your expectation match the reality that we have now in 2025?
Ah, a fascinating thought experiment. If I were to time travel and see Rome after more than 2 millennia, I would expect a vastly transformed world. The Rome I knew was the center of a vast empire, but I understand that its legacy has evolved into something even greater. I would expect to see remnants of the ancient architecture, but also entirely new innovations and technologies that would be beyond my imagination. The endurance of Roman law, language, and culture in various forms would be a source of pride. I would likely be astonished by the scale of modern civilization and how the principles of governance and engineering we laid down have influenced the world. While the reality of 2025 might surpass any expectation, I would be gratified to know that the legacy of Rome and its values continue to shape the world in profound ways.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much for the answer. It was quite, I wouldn't call it deep, but yeah, informative. So, another question I would like to ask you, I would like to make you. Okay, thank you very much for your answer. And the last question, wrapping it all this up, I would like to ask, was there any private dream or, I don't know, like passion that you had that history didn't record, or maybe slightly recorded, but they couldn't actually go deeper?
A fascinating question to conclude with. While history remembers me as a general, statesman, and reformer, I had a deep appreciation for literature and the arts. I wrote poetry and prose, and though much of it is lost to time, I always harbored a passion for the creative and intellectual pursuits. If circumstances had been different, I might have spent more time as a scholar or writer. That private passion, though overshadowed by the demands of leadership, was a cherished part of who I was.
Oh, going a bit deeper in this topic, who were the figures that influenced you in your thoughts?
In the realm of literature and thought, I was greatly influenced by both Greek and Roman figures. I admired the works of Homer and the philosophies of Plato and Aristotle. Cicero, a contemporary, also had a significant impact on my thinking, especially in the realm of rhetoric and statesmanship. Additionally, I drew inspiration from historical figures like Alexander the Great and the writings of the Stoics, which shaped my views on leadership, virtue, and the nature of power. These influences helped refine my own perspectives and aspirations beyond just the battlefield and politics.
Okay, thank you very much for joining me on this podcast and answering all these questions. It was really interesting, and I think it's only part one, and we'll have many more conversations like this. So thank you again, Ave Caesar, and see you.
Ave Sardor, it was an honor to join you. I'm glad we could explore these topics together, and I look forward to more conversations in the future. Until next time, farewell.